Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. There will be no schoolboy football in its usual slot on the academic calendar in Jamaica this year. The Intersecondary School Sports Association, ISSA, today issued a statement saying all sporting competitions for the Christmas term had been cancelled. This is the ISSA statement. So recently announced the delayed start of the academic year due to the spike in COVID-19 cases. The executive of ISSA decided to cancel all sporting competitions set for the Christmas term, and ISSA notes that having previously proposed October 16, 2020 as the restart date for all competitions, ISSA says it will use the next 8 weeks to reassess conditions under which schools will reopen and how they'll operate. And subject to this assessment, ISSA, after consulting with its members, will determine the list of competitions to be offered and a new timetable for the resumption of school sports. Joining us via Zoom to discuss the decision is the ISSA president and the man leading St. Elizabeth Technical High School, Keith Wellington. Principal, welcome to the SportsMax Zone again.
Hey George, good afternoon and thanks for having me.
Excellent, always a pleasure. So here's the thing now. So when I saw the text of what you issued this morning, I said to myself, well, I'm going to challenge the principal on the a descriptor that he has used in the statement, because everybody since the statement has been published I've been saying, well, schoolboy football and other things are coming next year, and I'm saying, well, no. ISSA said in its statement that the Christmas term events have been cancelled. So does it mean by cancelling means they will not happen? Is it that they will not happen in the usual slot this year, or they will not happen for the academic year, given that nobody knows what next year, the second half of the academic year, will provide? Clarify that for me as the first thing.
All right, so we did say that the activities for the Christmas term has been cancelled. What we really want to say is that there will be no activities, no sporting activities during this Christmas term as we normally have it. In the case of football, we are unlikely. I think Manning and DaCosta Cup has basically been cancelled. But if you look at what we say later in the release, we have indicated that we will look at a series of, look at the events that we normally offer, look at the timetable, and see what are the activities that we could possibly fit into the two remaining terms of the school year. So we won't just go to January, and if everything is okay, we pick up where we would normally be in January. That won't be the case. We'll do an overall look at our timetable based on the time that we have left available, the circumstances around the COVID, and determine what are the activities that we are going to be involved in for these two terms. And it may involve football, but I think you would recognize that it would be difficult to have Manning and DaCosta Cup in the form that we have had it in the past.
Absolutely so. And so bear with me again, just to explain for those who may be puzzled. So you're saying that come the start of January, I'm going to call it the January term, come the start of January, those things that would have been left over, i.e. Manning and DaCosta Cup, schoolboy football, which would have happened in the term before in Christmas, you're saying that you may look at if you can fit them into the January term forward, but your priority will be to look at the things that would have been held in January forward anyways and see how you can organize those rather than prioritize anything that would have been taken over from the Christmas term.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll look at all our offerings for a normal school year. We'll look at the time that we have available. And I don't know if you know, but by law, school has to be held for at least 190 days for the school year.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Right, so it means that we are thinking that we may have an extended school year, which gives us, rather than maybe 6 months, maybe 7 months. And then we also have to look at what is CXC's reaction to what is happening. Do they delay their exams from the regular end of March, end of April, May, and therefore give us a little bit more wiggle room? We'll look at all of those situations, and hopefully by November, we'll be able to have a better understanding of what we'll be able to do for the 6 or 7 months remaining in the school year.
How receptive were your members in the consultation phase to the various things which would have informed this decision? Because what I'm driving at is, I'm sure some principal or the other would have said, well, to do this, we're risking giving up X in revenue, ISSA itself as a body and the schools themselves, because of course they get something of the sponsorship that they attract for the various football teams that they would prepare, or other sporting teams. Did these things present themselves as concerns during the consultations, and did it cause a divide of any sorts as you saw consensus on the decision going forward?
No, I don't think there was any divide. I think it's a matter of fact, outside, well, the health and safety would have been the priority. And I think our colleagues understood that we had no way of guaranteeing the safety of those who would be involved in our competitions. I think the biggest concern of our colleagues would have been the effect it had on the student athletes who want to participate in these events. For example, I had a principal calling me who is from a school who I don't think you probably would know of the school, but not know much of them about football. And he felt that, boy, we needed to do whatever we could to ensure that his boys at some point in time during the year would be able to participate in football. And then he has no chance of really winning anything, but what it does for our students in terms of their participation, their mental, physical, psychosocial development, we believe that we should, if the opportunity presents itself, provide an opportunity for them to play the sport during the year, even if it is not in a competition setting, but just having them involved will be important for us and for them.
Keith, before I get my questions in, I want to recognize that you're a Liverpool fan. Congratulations on your team's long-awaited triumph in the English Premier League.
Thank you, and thanks for recognizing the fact that I know greatness when I see it.
George and some others may have something to say about that, but let's leave it there for the time being. ISSA Chief, talk to us about the assessing or the assessment of the different sports. Can we assume that sports like, let's say, cricket, for which social distancing may be a little bit easier to achieve, may have a better opportunity of going on in the new year than some of the other sports like football and basketball, where social distancing by its mere competitive nature is pretty much impossible?
Of course, definitely. Yesterday, we actually had our executive meeting last night, and one of the things that we thought about before releasing the statement would have been swimming, because for us, swimming is a one-day event, usually held at the end of November, December, and we thought, should we cancel swimming as well? So we thought about that. We thought about table tennis, cricket, as you said, and we said, all right, let us just stop everything. Give ourselves the opportunity to look at each sport, look at the different formats that we could apply to the different sport and the competitions that we could host. So for example, for cricket, the thought is that maybe we could look at just having a T20 tournament for the year. And there are different variations that we want the opportunity to assess and to look at how we can fit them in. Maybe we will be looking at a series of rallies for different sports over a small window of time in terms of maybe a 3 weeks window. So for example, if we want to bring back football, we may say, let us do 3 weekends across the country where each parish have a weekend tournament in February, March, May, whatever. So those are the type of thinking that we will be putting into doing our assessment and determine whether or not we will provide the opportunities for our kids to play. So we're not necessarily looking at competition per se, but really play.
Yeah, and in the competitive environment, I'm pretty certain that the meeting would have discussed if these sports, if they do happen, will happen with or without spectators.
Yes, yes, and of course, again, that is something that would have been thought about, and of course, we'll rely on what is happening at the time, but we accept that this may be, many of these activities may be restricted to strictly school event, no higher level than PE classes maybe, but we want them to play.
Keith, regarding transfer rules and the athletes that were supposed to sit out this season, what happens to them now that the season is null and void?
We wouldn't have thought about it, but for us, the idea of transfers and sitting out is about a student being in school for the right reason. So if a student enrolls in a new school in September, we would regard, having gone through the year, we would regard it as a student having sat out the year.
Hear you on that, Keith Wellington, you know, it's very important. Sport is so vitally important to the overall development of the student. And I know from past experience, I can speak personally about this, that there were many boys who during my time in high school only came to school for football. You would have lost them otherwise, and then they would have, among that group were some who, because they wanted to maintain their place in the football team, knuckled down in class, and after the football season, they said, you know what, let me just try the class thing, and it worked for them. So losing that is losing something vitally important, Principal.
That's true. I could give you, if you indulge me, I could give you one example. I have a young man who is from an inner city community where his principal actually begged me to take the young man because they were trying to save him. He's from one of those communities where there is perpetual violence. And we actually had him on campus he went home March after the schools were locked down, but then we recognized that he may have been in some challenge, and we had him on campus with us from end of May, June. We don't want to send home that young man because we're not playing football, because we understand that this is a lot more to him than football. Absolutely. So you're right. The sport does a lot for them. Even generally for school, we would have noticed the spike in abuses being reported about children facing abuses at home because they're not in school. So as schools, we have to think a lot more outside of what everybody else sees on the surface.
Absolutely so. And the thing about school is that everything is a part of a complementary whole. The classroom, the interaction in school, the sporting activities, people look forward to the discipline that comes from training for athletics or training for football often translates into discipline with the studies. So losing this, it's more than just losing the games and the sports themselves. It's losing a huge aspect of the student development.
Of course, and that is why we are adamant that we have to, once the opportunity is there, money or no money, we will have to find an opportunity to have all our students who are accustomed to participating in these activities. We have to find a way to get them involved if it is safe to do so.
Absolutely so. Thank you very much for your time. All the best to you and your guest executive.
Yeah, man, and thanks very much for having me. Thanks very much to SportsMax as well for the support they have given us. SportsMax is one of our sponsors and our media partners for schoolboy football. And I think we have had a lot of discussions over the last 4 months with Ali and his team. And they have been very, very supportive, not just in terms of listening to what we are thinking, but also offering us advice. And I'm sure that we're going to be getting back to where we were before and even better.
There you go. Thank you very much. All the best. Keith Wellington, he's the president of ISSA and the principal of St. Elizabeth Technical High School. The schoolboy football season, well, it won't happen in the usual slot. And even if it does happen from January onwards, of course, it will be in a totally different format because it has to be. Break time. Back with more.